Remember there was I think we did this podcast with Ahmed being there, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd specifically suggested that I think after Barcelona where again Carlos had jumped Leclerc, and it said one thing. I think Charles is just too nice.
Yeah,
And today he basically vindicated me when he shouted on
he
the
said
team
it.
radio that I'm too nice, and he's 100% correct. He is too nice, and that's the problem with him.
Maybe this is what Carlos is doing. Maybe.
What is it doing?
Maybe Ferrari have pulled Carlos Sainz aside and said, listen.
Oh, geez, I know where you're going with
Hamilton's
this.
being a prick over at the other team, and he's
Yeah.
going to be a bigger prick when he comes in here. So can you do us a favour, and we'll give you a few million quid, will you just prepare Leclerc,
Yeah.
Logically, that's probably what's happening.
Because Ferrari is capable of that kind of 3D chess, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they have the history of doing such brilliant master strokes.
If this was Red Bull,
they can't
if this was
fucking time a pit stop.
they
They are
don't know
going to
when
do
it's
this.
wet out. So yeah, look, if this was Red Bull or Mercedes, I would say that jokingly, but part of my brain will go maybe.
Yeah.
Ferrari, it's like nah.
Yeah.
Nah. Yeah.
I think the problem with Charles is the way he's conducted, his biggest problem is he was conditioned with a Sebastian Vettel and a Marcus Ericsson as a teammate who
Mhm.
played the team game for the most part. Except
Vettel's
me.
a genuinely nice guy,
Yeah.
outside of the car. Yeah.
Exactly. And that kind of set out a foundation which seems to have broken with Carlos, and it has happened far too many times.
Mhm.
It happened. This is, he specifically mentioned this thing during the outburst. Afterwards, there was apparently a complete media embargo, and they didn't really say much. So, according to him, this has happened far too many times before, where Carlos has broken the engagement, whatever been made beforehand, and then come up with an excuse or something. You know who does these kind of things brilliantly? Lewis Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who's going to be Charles Leclerc's teammate next season? Lewis Hamilton. And other than anything, and I think we talked about this a little when we compared both of them, but Lewis Hamilton will eat Charles Leclerc alive if he continues to be this nice guy and thinks that playing the team game with a Lewis Hamilton is going to take him far.
Yeah.
There's only one thing I'd say more than anything else that you can take from Lewis Hamilton's career, and that is he does not fucking trust his team in any which way. He's
Well,
questioned them at Mercedes.
He'll play the
2014,
team
15.
game when it works for him, as you said
Exactly.
earlier.
Yeah. And
Like the
look,
team
a
is
lot
great
of-
when the team is performing for him.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
just-
yeah.
Yeah, otherwise they screwed him. They
In
led to
fairness,
his failure. And
he comes from
stuff like that.
he comes from the Ron Dennis School of motoring. So what else do you expect? You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
So
Probably trained him that way.
yeah. Like
It's
his first team boss was Ron Dennis, and his first teammate was Alonso. I mean, he had a baptism by fire.
He had to
Yeah.
question everything, right?
So in fairness, like you can kind of see where it comes from.
Yeah.
So that's why I think Charles Leclerc is getting a service from Sainz here. Sainz at Christmas is going to send him a package, and it's going to say, "Look, now you're prepared. You're ready, my young Padawan."
This particular race actually made me realize that if Leclerc was in place of Norris in that particular McLaren, I have a feeling even he would have struggled, because he struggles with the same issues that Lando does. And I think you've mentioned it quite a few times that
Yeah.
he trusts his team too much. And the team, when it fucks up, is not willing to own up to it. It's not willing to put a hand around his shoulder and tell him,
It's
that
just
you're the person we are backing to
it's
the
just
hilt.
it's a
And
case
not.
of the driver is fighting for the team, and the team is fighting for the team.
Yeah.
So no one is actually fighting for the driver,
Yeah.
and that's a problem. You know.
And
Look,
I think
Charles
a lot
Leclerc's
of-
lucky though, because obviously he's getting an expired Lewis Hamilton whose shelf life has passed, so it doesn't matter as much, So
it might. Look, Lewis is...
I am joking.
I know,
by
I
the
know,
way.
I know, I
Like-
know.
Like for
I'm
no,
just
but
trying
for
not to
listeners,
laugh at every-
for listeners, Lewis Hamilton, as I've said repeatedly, has been brilliant this season, even in a car where he's clearly been unhappy. Like he has been brilliant. What annoys me, and the reason I bash on him, is generally because I feel like all of that has meant that George Russell hasn't got any credit for being spectacular this season. That's what annoys me. So Leclerc next year will be spectacular while,
not getting any credit.
No,
it's just
because it's all racism and sabotage.
Oh God. Apparently someone shared there was this whole I'm going completely off track, but there was this rumor, right, that Lewis would be living in Enzo Ferrari's home.
Is it true or
no? It's not true. I mean, it's an old. It's basically a museum, that place right now.
That's when I saw it. I thought that is one of the Ferrari museum buildings.
Yeah. And it's and apparently someone shared a very racist meme where it was Enzo Ferrari in his grave when Lewis Hamilton is living in his. Oh God.
Even though, in fairness, as much as Enzo Ferrari was clearly a bit of a prick throughout his life, and the Ferrari movie, brilliant by the way, if you haven't seen it, with Adam Driver, is it? Like the one thing about Enzo Ferrari is Enzo Ferrari took performance over everything else. Yeah. So Enzo Ferrari would take 2017, 2018 Hamilton in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Probably not this. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. You can't resist taking digs at him, right?
No, because it's because he keeps upsetting my favorite driver. I love you, George.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite driver.
Moving on. Leclerc. He does have that kind of asshole in him when it comes to when the helmet is on, you see it. Again, his racing
He's aggressive on track,
bloody aggressive.
Brilliant,
Yeah. But the problem is when the helmet's off, I don't think he's that assertive figure that kind of galvanizes a team around him. I think that leader aspect, I think out of all these new drivers, I think other than George, I do not see it in Lando. I do not see it in Leclerc. I see it in Max.
Yeah.
But in abundance, I do not see it in either of these two. I think that
the thing
worries
is,
me.
What kind of concerns me is, like, if that was him and Max Verstappen fighting, he wouldn't have got angry about Max Verstappen. He would have just been more aggressive and would have held him off. It's like he just... Yeah, I think he just needs to be a bit careful because he clearly cares more about the team than the team really care about him. It's just what we said before. So, like... Because, like, genuinely, if that was Max Verstappen trying to be aggressive and passing him and all this stuff, he would have been aggressive back. We've seen it in the past. Like, we saw it in 2022. Fair, but aggressive. But, like, and if Max got out of hand, Leclerc would be the first one to play that game back, like, on track. But because it's his teammate, he's giving more leeway than he would otherwise. And, yeah, I think, look, it's like you said, it's like Lando Norris. It's like these guys feel like they owe a lot to the team, but the team don't really seem to feel like they owe anything to them. So it's kind of this imbalance. And I don't know if... Maybe the two of those drivers, maybe it needs to come to a head where 2025, they both have a chance to win the title and the team screw both of them and Max wins or something. And the two of them decide, right, fuck it, I'm out of here. Like, I'm not doing this. Maybe they need to go to another team. Yeah, but maybe they need to go to another team. Because I think, like, if Lando goes to another team with all of the performance and all the learning he has in mind, he then no longer owes really anything to that team, if that makes sense. So it becomes like a different game. And Leclerc likewise. But because both of them have kind of been in that team from day one, it's like, oh, well, this team gave me a chance. There's all this baggage behind it, you know, that... Whereas, like, Verstappen never had that because Verstappen was basically like, I'll take you or Mercedes, whichever one. Like, I've got an option with both, so give me, you know, it's just...
I think in 2025, what he needs to do is just... I think the first thing has to be... First name, I have to destroy Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. He has to.
Everything aside, entire focus on one thing, I have to destroy
If he loses to Lewis Hamilton... Like, Leclerc is in a bit of a precarious situation because, and I think we've talked about it before, because Leclerc should beat Hamilton. Like, Russell has just comprehensively beaten him over a season. Leclerc should be seen as a higher value driver than Russell for a variety of reasons. So if Leclerc can't beat Hamilton at his own team, then that looks really bad for Leclerc.
Yeah.
And the problem is, if Leclerc does beat Hamilton at his own team, it's kind of just expected, so it's not really a boon for him. It's kind of an unfortunate kind of lose-lose.
I don't think so. I think if he beats,
Unless he destroys him.
yeah, I think if he repeats what George has done this season, it would still be appreciable because he won't have a version of Lewis who is checked out, who's making excuses. He'll have a version who honestly would be shocked at the kind of gap there is, and I think that's where the whole self-awareness thing
Here's
is
a
very important.
random question to piss off Team LH for you, just because we haven't done that enough this season.
Yeah.
What if
Or in
Hamilton
this podcast.
or in this podcast? Yeah. What if Hamilton goes to? And I'm not saying this will happen, by the way. Just, I'm sure anyone listening this far in knows I just like to wind people up already, so I shouldn't have to explain. But what if we get a situation next year where Leclerc wins the Drivers' Championship, and because of Hamilton's performances, Ferrari lose the Constructors?
God.
Do you think Hamilton makes it to the second year of the contract? Like, genuine question in that situation.
Drop your views in the comment section.
Because I don't think so.
I think he does. I think ideally 2024 would have been a season where he was honest with himself, but if he's not honest with himself at Mercedes, I don't think what his approach would be. 2025, this is Leclerc's car. My job is just to get up to pace, understand the team, rally the troops, and stuff like that. 2026 is going to be the same car, new car for both of them. That's when I can be at a similar level to him.
So you think Ferrari in that situation would still keep him?
Ferrari would keep him. Ferrari's not getting rid of Lewis. Lewis will get rid of himself.
Yeah.
Whenever that happens.
I guess it's an option on both sides for the third season, right? Of
course.
It's going to work,
Yeah.
yeah. So 2027
it's basically whatever. Yeah, it just, look, it will ultimately come down to if Lewis wants to stick around even more.
What am I saying as well? There's no way John Elkann is writing a check to say I made a mistake. Like, that's just not happening.
Yeah.
There's no way. Yeah.
I mean,
forget
we cannot rule out anything with Ferrari, by the way. Who knows, by 2026
Ferrari
we
don't
have...
admit.
I mean, who knows, by 2026 we might even have Mattia Binotto back leading Ferrari.
Ferrari
team
might not
changes
be on the
every
grid
fucking
by
year.
2026 at this stage, to be honest with you.
No, Ferrari will be there. Ferrari will be here in
I know,
2050 and everything.
Yeah.
One thing that won't change is Ferrari would still be in Formula 1. It might be shit, it might be embarrassing, it might be basically infuriating, but it will still be in Formula 1. That's not changing anytime soon.
Fred Vasseur really needs a Ross Brawn type figure to come in and like build the technical side. And I think as good as Leclerc is in terms of like on track ability, he's not their Michael Schumacher. Like, he's not that driver that's going to take the bull by the horns. And Lewis Hamilton, even if he comes in and is absolutely brilliant, one, he's not that type of driver anyway. He never was to like kind of properly lead a team that way.
Yeah.
And two, it's at the end of his career anyway. So I think Ferrari is still missing some stuff that McLaren could have had.
What Ferrari is missing is a Niki Lauda or a Helmut Marko or someone experienced who can guide the driver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what they're missing. And maybe a former, maybe bring Alain Prost, but I don't think the relationship
Niki Lauda back from the dead. Yeah. How hard can it be?
I mean, do something. Because the thing is, what Leclerc needs is a hand around his shoulder who, after this race, he can actually go to and vent out, and who tells him that everything's fine, it's okay, this is your team, everything is for you.
Yeah.
I think today Leclerc will be sitting in a very lonely place at Ferrari, even though he got screwed by both his team. By the way, the genius is at Ferrari. There was 4 seconds gap between Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. They waited until the gap was gone and then pitted Leclerc. How smart, isn't it? They know their second driver is an asshole and does not listen to them, and they still risked it. Brilliant. I mean, that's basically,
Listen, there's a lot of Hamilton fans who are very angry with Mercedes this season, and I just say one thing: good luck to you next year with Ferrari. Seriously, good luck.
Just wait for it in Bahrain.
I think both of us have a lot of pent up anger at Ferrari after ruining Vettel's career.
Vettel's career, Alonso's career. I mean, Leclerc's career
Raikkonen's
by the looks
career,
of
but
it, the way it's going.
Raikkonen kind of ruined his own career, so it's not really on for.
I mean, look,
Raikkonen just didn't give a shit.
I think Kimi was the one who knew that okay, I needed one. I just need one world championship. That's all I want to do. He got his first world championship, and then he was like, "Let's take my pension money." And his pension money was $35 to $40 million.
Yeah, Raikkonen probably arrived at Ferrari, and Ferrari were like, "Listen, Kimi, we're not backing you. You're the number 2 driver." And he's just like, "Well, I still get paid." And they're just like, "Yes, okay, it's fine. Yeah, whatever. I don't give a shit."
Yeah.